Hello my friends, welcome back to a tutorial. I hope you're all keeping very well and safe and sound and happy painting some beautiful pictures. Um, some of your work is absolutely stunning, I must say. You have come such a long way in the past couple of months, you really have. So look, keep it up, keep up the good work, keep it fresh, keep it simple, keep it loose, but try to be happy when you're painting, okay? I have something nice, a small study for this tutorial, but I think you'll like it and I think you will learn a lot about light, getting a light on a landscape. I don't know if you can see, I have a reference photograph on my phone up here. Dave Welch from Down Under sent me a lovely photograph of a landscape nearby him where he's living. I just love the colours in this, and I think you will too. Lovely rich burnt colours, orangey, yellowy colours. Um, on a landscape. So I have a wide canvas here. Now it's only a small canvas, but we can fit a lot into a small canvas as well. I have 20 inches by 8 primed canvas. I have a masking tape across just above halfway, and I have my paper palette here. I normally would use my ceramic tile palette, which I have on the side, but I can fit all of this into one um, video. So it's handy that way, you know what I mean? So yeah, let's have some fun with a bit of colour for this. Rich burnt colours, orangey, brown colours. This might be a nice little change, I think. So let's go. Grab your stuff if you want to follow me along. And if you have any questions, please just ask. Okay? That's why I'm here. Any questions at all. Um, let's go. Grab your stuff, my friends. So this is it. I'm going to put my reference photograph up there. Isn't that beautiful? Lovely, rich orange, burnt kind of colours with some lovely highlighted kind of yellow going across the top of the landscape. Isn't that lovely? Um, this may make a nice little tutorial. Now, I just need to plug my phone in because it's going dead. I forgot to check it. So I'm just going to pop this in up here. I hope you don't mind. Let me just see if that charges up. There we go, charging. So let's go. I'm going to tell you what colours I have. Titanium white, phthalo blue, Naples yellow, cadmium yellow, some burnt umber, magenta, burnt sienna, cadmium red, and some black. I think that's all we need for this. So let's crack on. Let's have a bit of fun with this. I'm excited to try this. A nice warm landscape. I love painting warm colours like this. So I'm going to start with a nice warm plum for up in the sky. So let me just dampen my medium little flat brush, okay? Any medium brush or a large one if you like, it's up to yourself. You just dampen that ever so gently. I'm going to take some white and a little touch of phthalo blue and some magenta. And because there's a very kind of reddy brown colours in this, I'm going to keep it more on the red side. So magenta may be a little cold for this, but I'll try a little magenta, but then a little cadmium red. And the cadmium red should really warm this up very nicely. Little touch more blue. You can see in the background of the sky, we have like this lovely blue with a hint of some pinkish clouds going through it. So let me just try this color for now, just to see, because I want a color which will complement the land. So, you know, a common mistake made by a lot of amateurs and beginners and the like is that they will use very contrasting colors. So they might have a certain color in the sky and then a completely different color in the landscape below. Now that's a very common mistake. What you want to try and do is, now I'm just going to switch brushes for one moment, okay? I just need to get a big brush for this to get this done nice and quickly. One mistake people make is different colors. And what I mean is, if I put in a kind of a bright blue sky up here and then put in this very reddy brown bottom half, they're going to clash. So whatever colors you have in your landscape, in the mountains or the trees or the grass or whatever the case may be, you need to keep the colors on the landscape similar, because you see, whatever colors you have in the sky will reflect onto a landscape. That's the general kind of rule that I would follow. So if I have a sky with a lot of red, we'll say, then the landscape is going to have a lot of red as well. And I think it's good practice Now, I'm not going to go down here. We have a nice little light blue off in the distance there. I'm just going to leave that. I'm going to just blue this ever so slightly, make it slightly more on the blue side for this side of here. Now, when I say slightly blue, I mean like it's a warm, kind of a pinkish blue. Now, I picked up some burnt sienna by complete accident. I'm just going to pick up some of that magenta for now and a little touch of phthalo blue. So I'm going for a sort of a pinky blue up here, a warm, warm, warm blue, just along the top. And what I'm going to do then is when it comes down, I'm going to just warm it. I'm going to put a lot more pink into it down here. So let's take a touch of cadmium red, some white, and even a touch of Naples yellow. And you see, look at this lovely, soft, pinky colour down at the bottom down here. Little touch of white. And look, realistically, you know, we can keep this simple. We don't have to go to a lot of trouble with the sky. The focus really is on the landscape, isn't it? Now I'm just going to take some phthalo blue and lots of white. And because it's very kind of off in the distance, a touch of Naples yellow. The Naples yellow will give you that sort of a greeny, soft, greeny, bluey sort of a sky. You see what I mean? It's very soft, a very soft colour. Now be careful where these two meet. Just be very careful. I don't want to create mud on my painting. So I'm just going to soften them very gently across. Little touch of blue just up there. Okay, just over that corner, a little touch. Perhaps one or two bits coming through the sky up there as well. You see what I mean? We have this lovely soft colour. So now, isn't that nice? Already we have this beautiful colour. And what I will do next is, I'm going to suggest just one or two little clouds, pinky clouds. So I'll just take a smaller flat brush. Let's take some cadmium red, titanium white, and a little Naples yellow. That'll give us that sort of, you know me, I love using these colours. Naples yellow with any red makes a beautiful peachy colour. All right, so let's just try this. A couple of clouds. I can make it a little richer actually. It doesn't have to be very bright. A couple of these little clouds just coming down. And as you come across to the horizon, then they get sort of very flat and horizontal, don't they? You see what I mean? Just like this, look. Coming down into that sky. Lovely, lovely colours. Couple across there, maybe just across the base of that one there. And it's just a very simple effect. See, just very, very simple. You don't have to go to huge extremes just to get a nice little sky like this, okay? Look, just a couple dotted around off in the distance, and that's it. That's all we need to do. Now I'll just take my soft fan brush and just soften them kind of back in slightly. Just lose the brush stroke, but you're keeping the shape of the colour. You see what I mean? I'm just losing the brush stroke ever so slightly. I want to keep it simple. And that's okay. Look, we're happy with that. Let's peel off the masking tape and let's start the landscape. So from here on, warm, rich colours. Okay, I'm going to just take some. I dropped a glass of brushes, my apologies. I'm just going to take some cadmium red. I have a lot of clutter around me here. You're probably the same at home. I have a lot of clutter, but no harm. It's okay. Not to worry. It's only a few brushes, no big deal. I'll go back to my medium brush, I think, and I'll start off with, now, I'm fighting with the mountains in the background. I don't know, should I put them in or should I not? What we'll do is, We'll just do the landscape and we'll decide later if we want to put a few mountains in there. There's no problem. I'll just dampen my brush. I'm going to take sienna and lots of Naples yellow because it's really bright, and maybe a touch of cadmium red as well actually. It's really bright back there. Let me just take a look at that now first. Perhaps a touch of cadmium yellow there as well. Now if you wish, you could just grab a pencil and perhaps put in a very light sketch of, see, that little dark area we have here. Very kind of loose like that, isn't it? We'll just put it in a sketch like that. It'll save you having to paint over the entire thing. Let's go and just fill this in. And what I generally do with something like this is I'll always look at the darker colour. So I'm going to kind of put in perhaps a bit more burnt sienna, and then with my fan brush I am going to put in the highlights. So let's take sienna, maybe a touch of magenta. The magenta really warms the sienna. Lovely. It gives you this sort of beautiful, warm, pinky kind of a brown colour. There. That's what I was trying to get. You see, it's just trial and error. Just keep trying until you get the colour you want. Put a little bit over there. And it doesn't even have to be completely straight. Look, we can go right up like that. I'll take a touch of turpentine just to soften the colour out a little. I'll go to some Naples yellow. And let's just fill this all the way down. And the very important part of this landscape is you have to be able to show the darker colours as well. So especially in the front where we have all these tall grasses coming up, I want to be able to show the darks and the lights. So there's a kind of a fine balance between all of this now. And I'm going to show you how I would approach a painting like this while trying to keep it simple at the same time. Okay, Naples yellow, magenta and a little sienna. Come over here and pop that colour in. And you can see the way I'm just kind of scraping this colour on. I'm not putting on loads of paint. Alright. I'm going to take some burnt umber, little turpentine, little burnt umber and some cadmium red. And I'm going to come down here and just sort of put in the dark sides of some of these grasses coming up. You see all those dark grasses we have. Take a touch of black even. That's a bit much now, isn't it? That's a bit much. Take a touch of magenta. Now you can see what I'm doing. Look, I'm just looking at the grasses, even though there's a little bit of dark green as well now on some of these grasses. I'm just going to pop in the dark sides of these grasses here. Look, all that kind of overgrowth and grass and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to pop in lots of darks. Wherever you think you can see lots of darks in the grass, just pop some of that in. More black, more magenta. The black and magenta give you that beautiful kind of blacky, pinky colour. So it'll complement the landscape as well. So you can kind of see now it's a very simple technique, just with a rough brush and just sort of flick it up using the back edge of the brush. Now I don't have to go too far up with this. I'm going to come right down. I'm going to put this in here. This is a lovely colour, isn't it? I'm going to go with magenta, cadmium red, and plenty of cadmium red. It's a very reddy kind of an orangey colour, isn't it? Very nice colour actually. Beautiful eye-catching colour. I'm going to put that cadmium red, burnt umber and a hint of magenta. The magenta again really is just to complement the sky. Alright, that's all it's for. So you can see I'm kind of using similar mixes. I'm adding a little pink into the mix because there's pink in the sky. If that makes kind of sense to you. and it will help. Let's just kind of go up there, soften it sort of through there, look, anywhere, just go around, soften it in. Let's get a bit more of that. Let's take burnt umber, cadmium red, just fill this side in. Very loose, very, very loose, look. And this is just kind of a base colour, really. We can add to this as we need. So I'm going to put that down. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a fan brush. I go with, let me see, I go with this nice soft fan brush. It's a bristle brush, all right? And let me just make sure now my camera is running away. It's fine. I'm going to dampen that. I need to get Naples yellow, my friends. My Naples yellow has gone up there. And let's take some, I'm thinking, Naples yellow, cadmium yellow. So let's get some cadmium yellow, some Naples yellow, and a hint of burnt sienna. Now you need a little bit of thinners in this as well, just to help this leave the brush when it comes to dabbing, okay? Let's try this. Okay, I'm just going to dab. I just want to create a nice sort of a rough effect way off in the distance. You see this? There's a lot of rough sort of ground off in the distance. And if you're finding your fan brush is not kind of doing what you want it to do, you could switch to a nice flat brush as well. Now, as it comes closer to you, you could flick, look, could flick upwards like that, creating some little blades of grass. So that's a nice easy process, I think. A nice way of getting that effect that you're looking for off in the distance. Okay, let's just keep going. We can add some darks as well to this, and we can also add some lights. I just need to get some burnt sienna on my palette. I think the main focus on this painting for me is really just having fun. This is the type of painting now where I would just sit down and relax and have a bit of fun and try to learn different techniques, because you could learn a lot from a simple landscape like this. A lot of people might look at a landscape like this and think, you know, it's just very flat, or there's not a whole lot going on in there. But when I look at a landscape like this, I see learning, okay? Learning about different things. Now, I'm going to take some dark. I'm going to get some burnt umber, some burnt sienna, and some cadmium red. I'm going to go nice and dark with this next colour. Lots of thick colour. You see that? Look, lots of thick colour on the top of your fan brush. And let's just pop it's almost like little groups of grasses popping up here and there. Now with these ones here at the front as well, I'm going to darken those right down. I'm going to take some black and I'm going to go into the base of those, look, and just drag them upwards. And you see the way I'm just flicking. I'm flicking my brush in all directions. That's probably the trick, okay? You will be very tempted to just keep everything straight like this, but show a bit of direction, show some movement in your grass. You see, look, just flick it around here, there and everywhere. and that creates really lovely textures. And I'm not going to overdo this either. Um, I'm going to put in a little bits of detail with the pointy brush as well, just to suggest perhaps little rocks and things like that off in the distance. Now I need to get paint again. You know, we run out of paint so quickly, don't we? It's amazing, especially when I'm using a fan brush. So some magenta, some burnt sienna, and a little touch of cadmium red. And if you know me by now, you know I don't like to waste too much paint. So you'll notice I only put a little bit at a time on my palette. That's because it's just, I suppose it's just a habit I have of making paint and stuff last. It's just a kind of a habit. Okay, it may not be the best habit to have, but it's something that's just kind of stuck with me over the years, having to save as much paint as I can. Do you understand what I mean? Now let's go down here and really go to town. I'm going to take some black, and I'm going to take some magenta, and even a touch of phthalo blue. So I'm going cold now, slightly colder color down here, just in these dark ones. And just along the fronts of some of those. It needs to be really dark, because the next step then is putting highlights on these. Take some magenta, some blue. We almost have like a plummy sort of a color. And you can see the way I'm refining now the edges. So I'm bringing the bushes down and I'm sort of just refining the shapes, you know. That's probably the easiest way of describing it. Refine the shapes. You just fill in this bit of white we have over here. Now let's take some magenta and some blue. We have a sort of a purpley colour. Now you may not be able to see some of the colours properly on the camera. They're very sort of purpley colours. Even look, a hint of magenta as well. A nice purple magenta, look, coming up there in the middle. Now I'm going to stop at that, and the next thing I'm going to do is take a small pointy brush. I'm going to take some burnt umber, a little black, okay, and plenty of thinners in this. I'm literally going to just go in underneath the bases of some of these and just refine them a little bit more. You see this? Just sort of refine the edges just that little bit. Because you can see on the photograph, they're very kind of sharp, aren't they? The bottoms of these. And I just want to thank Dave as well for sending me this. You know, I love pictures like this, real kind of intense colours. I think they really bring out a painting, don't they? Let me just take some sienna, and I'm going to just go up here and just put some. I'm not painting anything in particular here. All right, I'm just kind of suggesting detail, really. It could be just lots of little bushes or little bales of hay or straw or something like that. But there seems to be lots of little details way up here, just off in the distance. And I'm literally just making a couple of marks. Okay, that's it. You can see it even starts to look already like there's bits of detail in the landscape. So I'm just going to sit back now for a moment to take a quick look at this. And this is still quite kind of early on. Let me try a little touch of a black here and there. You could suggest something like, even look, little bits of posts sticking up here and there as well. But certainly there seems to be lots of little bits and pieces off in that distance. So I'm going to stop at that, and then I'm going to go into some, let me see, some Sienna and Naples yellow. Perhaps even a touch of cadmium yellow as well. And I want to just kind of catch some highlights on some of these. Let me just clean my brush now and start again. I'm just trying to get a nice bright colour. So you can see what I mean, just sort of dab some bright colour here and there. And that really does help add some light into the landscape off in the distance. See what I mean? It's a very loose suggestion of detail. It's just to add, I suppose, just to add a little bit of interest into the painting, if anything else. I'm going to try something else. I think I got a palette knife. I'm going to put a nice bright colour across the back up there. Let's try the palette knife, shall we? Let's have a bit of fun. I do love a palette knife. And you can create some wonderful effects with the palette knife. You really can. Let's try it and see what happens, will we? Come on, let's have a go. Don't be afraid. Let's grab some bright colour. Yellow, touch of red, some white. And let's just go like this. Let's just drag some of that. Now, you could have even done this instead of the fan brush earlier on, if you wanted. But as you're going, you kind of think of different ways, don't you, of creating effects on a painting. But even that now, look, that's creating a nice little effect there, isn't it? It's sort of just suggesting that kind of flat landscape off in the distance. And we could add a bit of darkness across there as well, if we like. Let's take some burnt umber, some magenta, little cadmium red. And even with a little touch of that, look, we could put suggestion of some darkness way, way off in the distant landscape. Look, just scraping it across with your knife. And you see, it's just adding something off in the distance, isn't it? And perhaps just a tiny bit of that colour just across the back over there. And then to keep it nice and warm, I'm going to put a touch of cadmium red over that as well in places. Now, I think that added a nice effect, don't you? I'm quite happy with this so far. Look, if anything, I'm kind of learning myself even about creating different effects. I suppose this tutorial really for me is probably all about having a bit of fun and just trying different things. That's all I'm kind of thinking about right now. Trying different things just to create a nice little landscape. Let me get some Naples yellow. And I'm going to start putting in a couple of highlights, I think, on some of the grass around here. I'm thinking Naples yellow just on its own. A nice kind of a strawy colour. Thick paint on its own. And what I'm going to do, because we have darkness in here, I'm going to start from the top and go down like this, look. So I'm dragging it down into the dark colour. Understand what I mean? Just like that. Now we could maybe brighten it slightly. We could add some cadmium yellow to that to indicate perhaps the sun is really catching some of these. Ah, that's better now, isn't it? I like that colour. And you see the way I'm kind of flicking the brush, as I'm doing this, I'm flicking that brush. So I've kind of flicked it down and just kind of softening it down into the dark colour underneath. Now I want to get some of that. That's a nice colour actually, I like that. I might put some of that around here. Let me see if I can get some of that colour again. Burnt sienna, cadmium yellow, I think that's what the colour was. Touch of cadmium red even. And pop a little bit of that just here and there. So it's starting to come together slowly. Now it may not turn out as well as we want it to turn out, but nonetheless, look, it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. Get some cadmium yellow and cadmium red again. Let's put a suggestion of some of those. And perhaps a tiny suggestion of those on the front pieces here. Now my reference photograph has gone off. I'm not going to look at my reference photograph anymore. Okay, I'm just going to concentrate on this, what I have in front of me. Now what I'm going to do next is take some Naples yellow, cadmium yellow, and I'm just going to, with that colour, suggest a few pieces coming off like this, okay? Just with the corner of my brush, look, just dabbing it here and there. So there may be a few rising above, just catching the light, particularly over on this side. It's just tiny indications of perhaps just a little light catching some of these on the tops. I don't want to go overboard with this. Now it may look a little bright in there. I might darken that down slightly. I know you're probably thinking, yeah, it looks a little bit bright, doesn't it? So I might just darken it down ever so slightly. And what I might do then is just go in under those with some more dark, rich colour. I'm going to take some cadmium red, burnt umber and burnt sienna. And I'm just going to go in under some of those with a little dark. Look, I'll even take some black. And what I'm going to do then is just take a small brush. I'm going to just start adding some colour into this area down in here, okay? So let me find a colour here now. I'm going to take some cadmium yellow. I need to get more paint again. Now I do apologise for all this, putting all this paint on the palette. I know I'm taking a lot of time, aren't I? But it's okay, it's fine. And I'll take some burnt umber. I'm going to start maybe lighten and darken some of these. Well, yes, some Naples yellow with some cadmium red. I'm just going to kind of go in under some of these, and I just want to sort of brighten it up, create a little contrast, I suppose. So I'm just going to use that colour first to just soften in between some of those. Okay, and the Naples yellow is really helping. So a little bit in here, for example, I'm going to soften it down. And even if it's picking up some of that colour from underneath, that's good. That's absolutely fine. And we can fix it. Don't worry, if we make mistakes, we can fix it. Then I'm going to maybe even lighten it a little bit more. I'm going to take some Naples yellow and a touch of white. I'm going to really brighten this now a fair bit just in here. I just want to create some light. That's all I want to do. A little bit of light. And I'm going to just slowly bring that down. Maybe a touch of that in here. Now, it may be a little bit on the whitey side. I'm just kind of soften it down with my brush. You see the way it's just sort of refines just a little bit. And then I'm going to darken it down at the bottom. So it's the opposite then for the bottom. I'm going to take some burnt umber and some magenta. And I'm going to darken down here, a bit more magenta, maybe a touch of cadmium red, a very dark browny red kind of a colour. And then just go with that. And I'm just making my brush strokes nice and soft. Okay, you see that? I'm going to go darker again. I'm going to take black, magenta, and some phthalo blue. I really want to get a nice sort of a purple down in here. Let me take some more magenta now. Plenty of magenta in this. You want a sort of a nice plummy kind of a colour. Okay? Nice soft, dark kind of a plum. Now, you see the way that effect, it just really adds. It just adds to what was a very flat kind of a colour earlier on. And it's kind of just catching the light, isn't it? And I like that. That's quite nice. So what I'll do then is I'll just simply take my fan brush and I'm just going to fix the bottom few grasses along here, okay? And let me get some burnt sienna. Again, I'm going to say my reference photograph has gone off of my screen. There's no point in looking for it now. So I won't use my reference photograph. I'm just going to make up my own little bits of grass down here. Sienna is quite nice actually. I might add a little more sienna into some of these as well. And then add a touch of burnt umber into the bases of some of them. And lastly, I think a little touch of Naples yellow and burnt sienna. I would take some cadmium red in this now, but it's gone off my palette. There's no point in reloading again. So let's just go like that. Very gently, just tipping it across the top of those. Very gently. And there we go. Look, you can keep going at this if you like. Okay, you don't have to copy exactly what I'm doing, but there is one thing I would like to do, and I hope this works. There's just one little thing that I want to do, and it's just kind of on my mind constantly since I started the background over there. I want to take some cadmium yellow and a little white. And I just want to try this. Again, it's about learning. So this is something I want to try. I think it might help. I want to just put it kind of a cadmium yellow with white, just here and there across the background. I think just to create a bit of a glow. You see, and I'm kind of softening it then into our foreground as it's coming forward. I just think something like that really helps. You see that almost that burst of yellow, like a sunlit yellow. I think that just really grabs my eye. I do like it. Just kind of soften it down. How does that look? I quite like that. It's quite nice, isn't it? Now you can see with the fan brush, it looks like we have a lot of detail going on, but we don't really. But it looks like we do. And that's what I love about the fan brush. Now I have a little spot. You see that spot of paint? I'm just going to take a dry brush and soften that away off the canvas. Look. There we go. Gone. That's it. Now I know we have a tree as well. I'm going to put a tree in. I think to do the painting justice, I think we need a tree just for scale, or even just a point of interest. I think we need a tree. So I'm going to put in a nice little tree. And I'll start with a dark colour, I think. I'm going to go with this kind of a pinky, plummy colour. Maybe a touch of burnt umber. A nice dark brown. Okay? A nice pinky kind of a brown. Plenty of turpentine. You need plenty of thinners in this to go over this thick paint, alright? So I'm going to just go like that, go right up into the sky. And give this a nice little tree. And I want to show some direction with this tree as well. So I want to show that the wind is probably blowing to the right, and so the tree is kind of constantly being blown over to the right. Just, I think, if anything else, again, just to add a bit of interest into the painting, that's all. Lots of little wiggles, look. A nice thick tree trunk as well. And I'm going to get a really small pointy brush for this, because the brushes I'm using now at this minute in time, at this moment, they're not really, really very pointy. So I'm just going to find another little pointy one. And it really needs to be very, very pointy. So let me just try another one that I have here. You see if I can get a fine, very, very fine point on this. And just pop a few. Go up a little bit higher. A couple of little flicks with the brush. And then I'm going to go with some Naples yellow. Just Naples yellow on its own, nothing else. And I'm going to just start adding some light onto this. And you can leave it dry first if you like. It's completely up to yourself. But I like working wet and wet like this. Just pop a few bits of light in up there. Just keep reloading that brush. And keep cleaning as well. Keep cleaning your brush. So I don't know now how this kind of really looks with the landscape. I hope it looks okay. But I suppose just to add a little bit of interest to the painting, if anything else. I know there's one on the photograph. I haven't looked at the photograph now for the last 15-20 minutes maybe. So I'm not even sure where the tree is or anything like that. But I think something like that just to... It's probably close enough. I know it's probably a lot bigger on the photograph. And we could even add, with the fan brush again, a little touch of Naples yellow, burnt sienna perhaps, just a little touch of almost like leaves. And then we'll just sit that down with again a little touch of Naples yellow, couple of flicks. Like that. And my friends, I think I'll leave it at that. You can overwork these very quickly if you're not careful. So I think I'll just leave well alone. And I call that finished. So, Dave, how about that? Now, as I was saying about the mountains earlier, I wasn't sure about the mountains. I just wasn't 100% sure. But I think that's quite nice. I'm quite happy about. I might just darken maybe just some. You see the lighter parts? I might darken it. I might not. I'm not too sure. One thing I might do actually is just take a little black and darken just along the bottoms of some of those. Soften it upwards. I guess just to redefine some of them. Does that help? Maybe not. But I'm going to just pop a little bit of it in here and there anyway. Okay, I think that's done. Don't think we have to keep going. My friends, thank you so much. It was a very loose painting. Lots of knife work in the background. You know, something simple like that. I think it makes a big impact, doesn't it? So I'll try to zoom in if I can. Just bear with me for a moment. There we are. I've managed to zoom in slightly. And there it is. A nice simple landscape, like simple techniques. Use your fan brush, just kind of flick it up and do some little bits of... And that palette knife work off in the distance, I really like that. That's very nice. So maybe just grab a palette knife and scrape some dark and light paint on off in the distance. I think it makes a big difference and it really adds to a painting. I get a lot of people, let me just turn the camera here. I get a lot of people asking me about, trying to create detail in a landscape, detail off in the distance, that kind of thing. You know what? Sometimes a palette knife is the best way to do it. Just grab a palette knife, scrape some paint across your canvas, mess it up a little bit. Sometimes that gives you the most stunning effects, especially with landscapes like this where you have a lot of distance and it's very flat. So do try it. Anyway, Dave, thank you so much for giving me that reference photograph, and thank you all for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's just a small, simple little study, but I think I've learned a lot here now, even about using my fan brush a bit more and using a palette knife, creating some nice thick paint on a canvas. I've learned a few little things and I can put that into practice for my next painting. So I will see you very, very soon. Thank you so much, my friends. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for your support. It really means a great deal to me. I'm humbled. All right. Have fun with this. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you very soon. Take care and happy painting.